Hello, my name is Dr. Richard Bernardo. I'm off and on my glasses, just bear with me. I just had cataract surgery, and sometimes I can see the screen, and sometimes I can't. Um, again, my name is Richard Bernardo, Dr. Richard Bernardo with a T, not a D. Well, most people, including myself, are prone to spelling it with a D rather than with a T. And my father would not like that. And neither do I, actually. So I'll try to use the T when you speak to me. Um, as you can see, I'm old. So we'll start with that. And old is more often than not a good thing, actually. And I'll work from that point of view and hope that you agree with me about that. Uh, Certainly old in terms of my experience in terms of this particular course, which if you have read the my little announcement a couple from last week, is by far and away my favorite class to teach. And I've taught it for a long time, and more often than not here at St. John's, and but also in several other universities in different ways along the way. And I'm not going to give you my pedigree and my whole background as such, except to say, more likely than not, I've been in education longer than any of you have been alive. And for the moment, I'll take that as a badge with a smile. Um, and see, it means to say I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've also have been fortunate enough to have or contribute to a lot of good successes as well, especially in the terms of the premises of change. I've been a professor of education and an assistant dean actually in one school for I don't even know how many years now. My most recent activity has been here specifically at St. John's as a full-time professor in the EDD program and in the certificate program as well. I'm now an adjunct professor there. I'm no longer full-time, as well as at Stony Brook and at Malloy and at Queens College and at I'm sure I'm leaving something out along the way. So as well as many consultancies and workshops and so forth all around the tri-state area. Podcaster on both ends, both as an interviewee and as an interviewer. Still doing that, and actually enjoy doing that. And started my career out of St. John's. I went to St. John's again before any of you were born. And I'm not going to say when, but did start my education, finished my uh, first degree at St. John's. And when we're straight into social studies teaching, I noticed that one person, I think it was Alicia, um, offers herself up as a social studies teacher, and automatically she gets an A. And I'm talking too much. Bottom line is, I've been in the K-12 world almost as long as I've been in higher education world. In many respects, I'm not going to say I enjoyed one more than the other, but I certainly have had two unique sets of experiences insofar as that's concerned. Most of my experience is been out of New York City schools, although I have some from a number of different opportunities. But I've been teaching, I'll say out here, which means out here in central Suffolk County, and as well as having lived here for a very long time. And have certainly been all around the tri-state area doing different things as far as that's concerned. Elementary school principal, middle school, about 10 different things in middle school administration, and the high school as director of humanities and social studies and in English. In I'm leaving things out. Pupil personnel services, I think I said assistant superintendent. Um, a lot of curriculum writing and a nice little list of books that I'm proud of, and I'll talk more about them in a few minutes. But as I said, this course, in my mind, and I'll say something that's going to might turn some of you off, or might encourage some of you. In my mind, this is, first of all, the second most important course you can take in this program. I'd like to say it's the first, but I'm not so sure. I think the one I'm going to offer as the most important clearly has a lot to do with this course as well. And I'll tell you what the first most important course is, and that would be supervision. And supervision is about your having the skill sets and background to nurture and grow your students. I'm sorry, nurture and grow your teachers. And that's a part about change, isn't it? He asked rhetorically. And so the more skills you get and experiences you get, and your internship experiences as well, make sure that you do, stands you in good stead to uh, help the great teachers be greater and help the not so great teachers also become great if you give them the tools and nurturing that they need. And the word that a couple of you used, I think Todd used it in his introduction to me in the discussion board, was empowering. It's one of my favorite words, but almost my most favorite word. I'll tell you what that is in a moment. But it's all about change. And in my view, if you're becoming you're taking this program, spending a nice piece of change to become certified as a building leader or as a district leader, hopefully both, you're not here just to keep the trains running on time. You're not here just to maintain things as they are, even though some of the schools that you've already mentioned to me are first class places that may not even think they need to be changed. But the saying I'm going to embrace it right now. It's not an original one, but I like to use it a lot. Is when you stop trying to get better, you stop being good. And so, if your school's off the charts and in performances and graduation rates and college degrees and so all of that, that's great. And then you can make it even better. I'm sort of a come from the athletic metaphor more so than I might come from an educator's metaphor by saying you got to keep moving this to continue to be good if you think that you are that good. And then again, if you're in a challenged situation, and all of you are, even if you're in the top number one school in the Western world, there are issues you need to solve and uh, programs you need to introduce and ways you need things you need to do to fashion the systems. I think Alicia spoke about that the other in the notes that I just finished reading, and more of you have to do that between now and the second. Uh, but in the end, it's about continuous change. And when the shark stops moving, the shark dies, which is a bad metaphor, but it is true. And so, you constantly have to look for new ways to transform. And I don't like that word because it's used too much. But here it is, and I'll probably use it 10 more times before I finish this little diatribe by saying that transform is an alchemy, and you'll hear me use that word a lot, where we turn lead into gold, we transform or change lead into gold, supposedly. And it's also about really more nearly about new ways to think. And I'll leave it with you on that count. I talk a lot. I'm going to try not to do a jillion videos, but when I do post a video, I do expect you to look at it, and we'll get down to some brass tacks and some conversation for a little bit, and then I'll sign off, and I'll probably put forgive the phone. I can't stop it from where I'm sitting. And so what I need you to do is if you have Canvas, well, let's talk first about Canvas. Uh, I'm not going to bring it up quite. Yes, I will. I'm talking to myself. I'm going to bring up Canvas. Give me a minute. As soon as I find it, let's stop that. Go back out. Let's go over here. Where are you, Canvas? Okay, let's start there. And now I'm going to share the screen if you can hear me. I'm pretty good with Zoom and all these good things, but sometimes get a little clumsy with it. Just bear with me. Now I'm bringing up Canvas because I'm thinking that maybe I don't know who of you, yeah, if anybody, may not be familiar with it, and so I'm bringing it up so we can all be on the same page with that. And that's not what I want you to see, though. I want you to see Canvas. So you know these sign on to Canvas, and obviously the folks who have started sending me writing in answering the discussion questions are familiar with it. But I just want to point out where I live most of the time with Canvas. I don't like Canvas any more than I like any of the other electronic systems like this, but this is probably better than most. And basically, you have to live in this bar as such, but you're going to be paying more attention to some of the bars than you are to others. And so, yeah, we're in home right now. You will see I post quite a few announcements. I also try to email those announcements out so that you see them both ways. And you're expected to read the announcements as well as to look at whatever the announcement tells you to do. There are discussion questions. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And you can see I really made a mistake here. And actually, I put two different ones up that are virtually the same. And these have to be, this has to be answered um, by the third. Otherwise, it'll evaporate on you and you won't be able to get in, which doesn't mean I'm not going to let you get into it later. But I don't like extending these things all that long for bookkeeping reasons, if nothing else. I'm not a big grader, but I will put grades down now and then. But if I were you, I wouldn't get crazed about that, not until a couple of weeks into the course. The people are who you are, and there you all are. There's quite a few of you, and I'm glad to see that. You don't see this. Let me make that visible so it is. No, I can't do that yet. And there are no files quite yet, but there will be real soon. And what you'll also see, now where is it? Oh, yeah, you'll see that in content, where I'll be posting up documents of all kinds. I'll be posting up links. I'll be posting up PowerPoints. I'll be posting up these premises as well. Oh, in modules. You're going to see this in modules. There aren't any to see yet, but there's going to be quite a few. I try to do them by the week, but since this is a very compressed course, I'm probably just going to number them. All right. Uh, and then you'll also see things like Studio, which I just discovered about 20 minutes ago, where I'm going to be loading up this video and other videos for you to see. And that's where you're going to live for the most part. And clearly, you're also obviously going to live with the syllabus. Now, here's my syllabus, and I hate syllabuses. I hate syllabi, I guess is a better way to put it. I know, I understand the need for them, and I endorse them. I was an assistant superintendent for instruction for a long time, and I used to get crazed when I saw people wandering off the syllabus for no good reason. But that doesn't mean that I like to be religiously chained to it. I just don't. And so hear me on this. I reserve the right to change the syllabus. Now, if I do, not saying when I do, but if I do, I will give you plenty of notice, and no one should get a breakout in a rash if you suddenly see I went left instead of right. And the reason why I will do that is how I read the class. If I think the class is heading left on me and it needs some more help with X and less help with Y, then I'll go in that direction to plug that hole up. Or if I see tremendous interest and excitement about some premises that I might show you or that you might show each other, then I'll grab it and go with it. Okay. And the syllabus isn't made to be chiseled like Mount Rushmore and be unchangeable. That's silly. So we'll move with it as it sits, but it is not. I do reserve the right to change it. Now, I posted this syllabus the other day. I already changed a little bit of it. That I won't change here in front of you, but I will do it. Why should I do this? I think I'll do that. I'll repost this with the new information rather than make you crazy. Look, I'm going to walk you through this. You can tell that I'm talking quickly. Number one is I talk quickly, and number two is I just want to just assure you that that you've heard this from a description of the syllabus as it sits right now, and we go from there. So again, there's my name with a T. It's a summer session one. It goes from July 2nd to July 8th. So I guess that's 5 weeks, and that's a sprint. I'm smiling. You want to get the course done, but you also want to have it in your pocket for internships and so forth. I get that. Uh, for me, up to me in a certain sense, I would be I would go more in a more leisurely pace, but I recognize how this is supposed to work out. So it's a quick course, and and you're going to have to stay on that calendar uh, because if you don't, you're going to regret it as such. I'm not in Sullivan 506. That's just a number. I never go into St. John's in Jamaica if I can help it. It's 50 miles away. I do go in if I need to, but I keep those needs down to a minimum. But I am extremely accessible in any number of ways, but I'm not on this syllabus this minute. I'll give you my phone number now, but and you can write it down as you listen to it. But I'll give you this down in a moment. My the phone number you can reach me at would be 631 0316. 631-848-0316. You can call me pretty much anytime you want, 7 days a week. I really don't like to be called after about 7 o'clock because I'm an old guy and I need to go to sleep. No, I'm only teasing you because I just don't like to be disturbed that late at night. But if you need to call me because there's a God forbid some kind of emergency, you can do that. It's not the end of the world. But I prefer that you don't. All right. You can FaceTime me. You can TomTom me. You can use tin cans and string. You can text me. I'll come back to that. You can WebEx me. There's any number of ways you can catch up to me. When you text me, always say who you are. To say, hi, I'm John Smith, and I'm in your 5743 class. I only teach you one class this summer, but I need to know who people are. Sometimes people ask me all kinds of questions, and I don't have any idea they are until I finally say, "Who are you?" Because I don't memorize phone numbers. So just say, "Hi, this is John Smith, and I have a question, Dr. B, and I'll be happy to talk to you as long as it takes to straighten out. If you have a concern of any kind, same thing would prevail." And again, you can see my email. It's my St. John's email. I have a Google account too, but I think the St. John's account would be more than sufficient. I'm going to run optional, he shouted. Optional, he shouted. Optional, he shouted. Uh, Video every Wednesday at 4 p.m. to about 5. Okay. Uh, in that video, I will either talk about something that the of the week topics of the week may seem to require, or I'll answer any kind of questions or I'll offer any kind of help I can. I'll record it. So if you don't get on between 4 and 5 on a Wednesday, you're not going to get a zero for that. It's just strictly optional. Okay. You can get on it anytime you want and get off it anytime you want. And if nobody's on by 5:15, 4:15, I'm going to get off. Okay. Now I'm going to sit here all day long. No offense. There's one Wednesday where I think I can't do it, and then I'll let you know and I'll push the hour either towards Tuesday or towards Thursday as such. So the bottom line is I am extremely accessible. I enjoy talking to students. I like talking about change. I like to teach online on one level because it's convenient for you and for me. On the other hand, I don't because I can't get you, especially in an asynchronous class, I can't get my arms around all of you at once usually to truly take the energy, to take that empowerment from each other. And I've worked on a million different ways to do that. I'm still not necessarily satisfied that I've been able to create that change from myself as instructor to be more successful at. But I'm going to try. I promise you that. So those are the kind of, I guess, the things you always need to know. Uh, and starting next Wednesday, I'm not sure what date that is. Starting next Wednesday, Alexa, what day is next Wednesday?
June 4th, 2020.
That's the 4th. All right. So on the 4th, I'm going to offer up a Zoom. I'll give you the link and I won't put it up. I'll put it up in announcements, and we'll go off to the races. I don't like to be read to, uh, but I will read to you now the course description, even though I see some of it's been sliced off. And I think I told you it's got cataract surgery, and I have a little trouble reading the screen. Building upon the framework of the 21st century shared leadership model, the course focuses on developing human capital. There's an important word to improve teacher and staff effectiveness and ultimately student achievement. The course will investigate PLC, that would be professional learning communities, in some respects way overrated, but we're going to talk about it. Recruitment and retaining teachers and staff. Now, you remember I mentioned supervision. That's a human resource issue as well as a nurturing issue. And so you can see how we sometimes cross over with each other. Mentoring plans, also a supervision issue. I wouldn't call that a change issue, and that's so specifically. PD we can talk about, but that's clearly an issue of change. Coaching, same thing, and educational policies. In the end, as you know, as prospective administrators, it's always about the policies, even though we don't often stress that enough. Oh boy, I lost something. Here, go back. Syllabus. And then we go over to these lenses are specified and explicated by students within the course, placing a major emphasis on leadership practices. And we will have some fun with that. And that'll take place through case studies, maybe a panel discussion, although that would not be an asynchronous approach as I see it, or I see another way to do that. Teamwork, again, tough. I'm going to probably ask for a group project, but I never have had all the success I'd like to have for a number of reasons. Video reviews and simulations. Now, simulations is Dr. B's favorite instructional word, and we'll probably bore you to tears about that. But those are some of the ways we're going to get it done. I'm a big believer in objectives, but I'm not going to read all of these to you. I'm going to pick some. I'm going to pick pieces of some. First bullet talks to capital. There's that word. Capital, a variation of that word is a word I'm more comfortable with, and that would be capacity. What you're trying to do is to create the capacity among your group, your organization, your school department, whichever it is, to be able to do things that they haven't necessarily knew they had to be able at, or whether you think are better or they think are better for learning and instruction than we have. And there's that transform word there too. How do you assign teachers and other staff to meet those needs? Recruiting and retaining high quality teachers, that's a problem nowadays. A lot of teachers are dropping um, off the radar, understandably so. There's an important word there, though, in that bullet, and that would be continuous improvement, which is what I spoke about when we first started to talk with each other. PD. The answer to your prayers is PD, except the problem with PD is that most schools, I'm going to use a term I might get in trouble with at St. John's. The trouble is with a lot of PD plans are half-assed. I'm sorry, Mary Lewis person. Okay, they're just not very good. They're like pro forma, silly things when there's so many ways to deliver meaningful and effective professional development. Observing and evaluating is not part of this course specifically, but I'll certainly allude to it. That's that other class. Make sure you learn every little single thing that you can learn from that one. Uh, your job to inform and to nurture other leaders. Your job is to become a leader, and maybe somebody tried to nurture you to become a leader, and probably so. It's also your job to nurture other people to do that. You'd be amazed at what comes out of that when you do that. Professional learning community premise it's just overused, all right? But we're going to talk about it because I believe in the idea of collaboration. Oh God, do I believe in that? Okay? And teamwork, reflective practice, and problem solving. And I truly, totally believe in written some books with some colleagues about action research. Well, we'll do a lot. We'll do that. That's a push that to the front of the wagon train in certain respects. Promoting family involvement. You can never ignore, except I don't know what the word involvement means, and we'll get into that in one form or another. And the target of the special support systems, where in fact the special support systems are beginning to dominate, I think, the instructional dialogue, and rightfully so. I'm not arguing that point, not at all. And more specifically, we're talking about special ed. We're talking about non-traditional learners, especially if you're teaching secondary. And one of you, I think, in Far Rockaway. My wife went there actually. Um, again, back before you were born. Although she wouldn't want me to say that out loud too often. Uh, and so there are Teach for America. There are special STEM programs. There are specialized schools. There's the gifted programs to talk about, which have died and come back. And I'm not sure if they're dying right now or holding steady. Um, I mean, I hope I mentioned TESOL or ELL. Clearly, in my mind, that's the premise that dominates. And how these things integrate and affect what all schooling is about. Enough said. I'm not beating that to death. I may make a discussion question about which two you think you're personally most interested in. I think I'll probably do that, for me to get some direction from you in the class. There are two books that are required, and we're going to use them. Okay. In truth, I wouldn't have used one of the books. I'm not going to say which one, but both books have great value, and I'm required to have you get them and use them. Now you can get them. I would advise getting them electronically. In certain cases, you can actually rent the book if you're looking to save $3. But I would recommend that you just get the books for your professional library. Professional Capital by Fullen and Hargraves. In certain senses, the last uh, 15, 20 years has been the book, the book. I think there are other books too that probably supplant it, but they probably stem from the Fullen and Hargraves thinking anyway. And it's a great book to have in your library anyway. And we're going to use that book directly, okay, in your assignments and so forth. The Linda Darling Hammond book, Teaching in a Flat World, could be substituted in any number of ways with other books, I think. But it's a good book that captures the issues. And again, it's 10 years old. It's not as though it's a yesterday current book so much. There are much more current books, and not necessarily educational books. They give you some things to think about. I'll give you an author I just thought of. I hope that you've heard of him. He's a columnist for the Times. I'm not sure if he's still writing regularly anymore. Tom Friedman. Uh, he talks about the flat world before Hammond thought of it, in truth. And he has some great books about the changes in the current world and how they're affecting not just education, but I mean, just about anything you can possibly think of. So those two books are the books you're going to need. Um, and there'll be assignments based on them and all the rest of that. You have, I'm going to come back to that in a minute, though. Actually, I'm going to come back to it right now. Your final project, on remembering that this is a, a very compressed course, is that you need to pick one book, okay, from this list below, and that list is flexible. You can say, "Hey, I'm reading another book, and I'd like to use this book." And I will trust you to know that you're reading the book along the lines of within the timing of the course, and we go from there. But these are books that will look kind of will catch your attention in a certain second for a certain piece for a moment. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a book report, a book project, okay, on a book, and then show us how those ideas from those books embed themselves into your thinking and what you hope other people will be thinking about as well. We'll get into how you're going to present it and all those other things later on. Now, two books are Dr. Coze's books. She's out of St. John's, um, and one's more recent than the other, but they're both good books, and one is required of you. P.S. Can you use one of the required textbooks as your book report? I kind of wish that you wouldn't, but I'm really not going to argue the point or chase you with a stick if you say I'm using one of Dr. Coze's books. I mean, I understand if you do that. I think you can broaden your horizons more if you kind of press yourself to get another a book that's also on the list, but that's okay. Uh, Linda Darling Hammond's book is there again, and you will see one, several books I either wrote or co-wrote. Uh, my Mona Lisa, and I'm not telling you to buy the books. I'm not telling you to buy the books. I'm not telling you to buy the books. If you bought the book, I get $2 for it. I can not even get a slice of pizza for it. So it's not as though suddenly I can buy the Villa in Tuscany I've always wanted. Um, I'd appreciate you bought the book if you're interested in it for your own professional growth, but you don't have to buy any of the books that I'm listing here. But this number four is my Mona Lisa, I think. It's called Co-Creating the Future, and it's a simulation to catalyze school change. Had a solution tree. Solution Tree is a great publisher, by the way, for PLCs. If you're interested in PLCs, Solution Tree is the publisher you want. So go to that catalog, and you want to get another book from the Solution Tree stable. By all means, go ahead and do that. Um, uh, that book is unique. I'm going to just flat. I hate to make a commercial out of it, but that's a pretty good book for that catalyze word, which is my favorite word, catalyze. Okay, don't ask me to define it right now, but I think you hopefully have answered it in an SAT sooner or later. My second favorite book is Futures I wrote is Futures-Based Change Leadership, connected to the one above. It's a formula for sustained change. Gives you skill sets that you've never heard of before. The skill sets that are offered there you have never heard of, and you would appreciate embedding into your toolkit. Uh, Another book that's quite frankly not as I'm not as enamored of as my other ones is Planning by Futuring, Futuring by Planning. But it does lay out very specifically how you can ch implement a change process. In that case, it's about social policy, social media policy, and it's pretty good for that. If you're interested in that, it might be helpful for you to read that book. And then I have a book with two of my colleagues, Dr. Nunziata, who is a professor here at St. John's, and Dr. Pisano, who was one of our students. Anthony's my student back in the day. And we have written a book called The Collective Mindset, a roadmap for continuous innovation. And that's got a different approach than the other books there. And uh, I think it's a pretty solid book, actually. We have a sequel to that coming out in a few months. But those I assigned it in another class, and someone said, Dr. Bernardo, it's like watching the show on Netflix, Breaking Bad. It's so complicated. And I thought that was pretty funny. And I said, yeah, it is a little complicated, but it does have a nice, uh, unique set of variables or a combination of variables that you have heard about before. Those are the books we're emphasizing. That's not an exclusive list. If you've got another book that you think is you want to, I don't like this word, but share out with your colleagues and just give me a call or drop me an email and say, hey, instead of these books, can I read this book? And I, 99 times out of 100, I'm going to say absolutely. And how to do that and what you're going to do with it, we'll say later. We'll talk later. And here are the assignments. Every time I ever took a course, I needed to know what I needed to do. And that's where it is here. I'm not going to beat it to death right now, but you know that there are discussions, and I already have one discussion question duplicated, and I'm probably going to post one about those objectives today or tomorrow for the next thing that I'll need you to do. So you're going to do discussions. I'm counting twice a week as in my head as the amount of clock time you have to put in. And since it's a 5-week course, that's 10 discussion questions. Discussion questions. So you're going to get at least 10. Okay. I don't need dissertations. I just need a good paragraph from you, and I need exactly what the few students who have already begun to do is you post your opinion, and then you respond to two other people's opinions, and hopefully you'll talk to each other. And that's the purpose of that is. That's one major assignment. Okay. And that will go in your assignment direction section. Okay. And it'll just go in it'll go automatically into the assignments. You got to read all the chapters that are assigned. They're described below. Okay, and you're going to be evaluated on the extent to which you've demonstrated that you've mastered the objectives by way of your conversations and by way of your presentation um, of the book that you will have uh, shared out. And then there are the same books again that's your other assignment. There's going to be a video observation. I'm not sure what I want to do. I may change that. So don't worry about that one for the moment. Right now it's there, but I may change it or I may offer another option. I'm not even going to try to explain that today because it's kind of complex. But that's what it is for the moment. Basically, watch this video and then evaluate it against the rubrics we're going to give you. And then it's really a supervision assignment as far as I see it. And it's got value for this course, but I can think of other things you can do that probably have more importance. So I'm probably going to change that. But right now, that's what sits there. Again, the final project is you're going to do a book talk. And all the things you need to do there are there. And we just keep repeating ourselves after that as such. Many of you, and not all of you, but many of you are going to be interning. Okay, if you're in the EDD program, you don't have to do this piece. If you're in the PD program, the certificate program, you need to do this. It's as simple as that. Unless you're doing your EDD and you're doing a certification, then I guess we should expect that. Everything you do in this class can be counted in terms of your hours. I never really know the number of hours that are assigned to a course. I want to say 50. Oh, I don't know how many there. Oh, wait a minute. Therefore, course internship to accumulate the end of the semester. I don't know. I'll find out. I think it's quite a chunk of hours you need to just clock. Now we'll go to schedule. This is the introduction to the class course. Not really. This is the introduction to the introduction. All right. And we'll talk more about this now. I'm going to post this. It's not in the syllabus yet. Your standards, actually, it's on the bottom of the syllabus. I take it back. Okay. There's going to be some sort of PowerPoint where I'll compare views of teaching, and that's going to be, and you're going to need to read Hargrave's book, rather the article you're going to have to dig up. I'll find for you if you can't find it, The Power of Professional Capital with an Investment in Collaboration. And I'll probably do a PowerPoint about that there. So you're going to see, I'll post either videos like this or a PowerPoint or sometimes both. And I'm going to be a wise guy for a moment. A few things irk me with this. I love teaching this class and I love teaching people like you. I know I will love teaching you folks. But a few things irk me more when I say, I posted a video about this 3 days ago. Did you see it yet? And someone will say, oh, are we supposed to watch the videos? Yes, you're supposed to watch the videos. All right. That's why I do that. You just need to do that. So I'll just fill in some of the gaps in the readings and so forth. So the bottom line is look for every document I post, and they'll be in the modules. There could be a PowerPoint and a video. Well, the video might be in the student and the studio piece, but I'll point these things out to you, and that's what I will be expecting you to do. All right. Now, every once, well, I didn't post this up yet, but I'm going to put up a journal assignment up uh, based on, for example, this is due on the 10th of June. What does research tell us? So you will have read Fullen, chapter 3, and you will have read Hammond. And what does the research tell you about instruction? And I could spin off on that and do a whole hour on that before we're finished. And you can see pretty much how things sit all the way through. So I'm not going to go through all of this as such. This is a mistake. Okay, it's not, well, the course ends on the 8th. I don't necessarily think that the case study should be due on the 25th because don't worry about that for the moment. Yes, stay with the 25th and I'll figure out what it has to be said about that. So I deliberately left this vague just so you can see what this is, how it begins to spread itself out. So, you're going to have to stay with the dates. Stay with the dates. Don't let the dates catch up to you and pass you up because um, in June, I know, as a former principal and an assistant superintendent, is an insane time. I mean, there's graduations, there's concerts, there's field days. I live around the block from a school, and my whole block is blocked with cars now. There's field days, and there's all sorts of things going on. Not to mention the emergencies that pop up in June, some of which are sometimes very unpleasant. That will take up a lot of time. So you really need to, like, kind of chain yourself to the dates. Now, I'm pretty good at responding with a grade. I don't like the grade, but I'm pretty good at responding to a grade. If I don't respond to a grade, that means I'm just fine with it and you're getting max credit. Often I only respond to people who I think may have missed the mark for some reason and say, well, maybe you want to add to this point. Have you considered thinking about this issue? And that will enable them to go back and fix it. I don't have any intention to give anybody less than A's unless they choose not to get the A's by not doing the maximum effective kind of work that this course would warrant. And so I'm going to sort of stop unless I forgot anything here. Courses, assignments, syllabus, I already talked about communication. And I did an intro. So I'm done. This is a shorter video than you're going to see from some of my other ones. Just wanted you to see my bald head and see my face and hear me. And I'm looking forward to having everyone complete the discussion questions and to get the books. And what you basically need to do for this first week is to do that discussion question. Let's go back up here just to re-emphasize that. There'll be a second question put up probably tomorrow. Um, and you can see that the first week, where are you first week? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Days 1, 2, 3. Um, there's things you got to do. All right. Well, the only thing I didn't do on the syllabus, I'll save that maybe for another video. Or I'm going to assume. Let me scroll down. Hope I'm not giving you a headache. Here they are. Here are the PSEL standards. Let me talk about that for a minute. These are national standards. When you take I don't like to say I'm teaching to the test. I don't. But there's a test, and you all know it. There's two tests if you're taking the district test. And for those of you getting TESOL certifications and some of these other things that are out there, there's more tests too. And yes, you have to pass the test in order to be certified. There isn't any other way to get around that. Uh, I think that the administrative certification test is a fair test, but a tough one. And it's not as though you can just wave your hands at it and pass it and be certified as an administrator. Uh, and so you need to really pay attention to that because it's testing you on these standards. Now, not all these standards are part of this course specifically, some more than others. Okay? Standard 3, for example, is clearly part of this course. So is 7. I'm just cherry picking here a little bit. 9, not so much, all right, because it's about school operations and resources. Doesn't mean it's not important to this course, but it's not a priority as such. Continuous improvement, absolutely. Okay, so many of them do, but not all of them. So I'm going to sort of, jump back and forth, and I'll point out to you where I think the emphasis is for this week. Because in the end, you have to have muscles in those standards because if for no other reason, and this is the worst reason possible, you want to pass the test. Heavens to Betsy. It isn't good enough to say that, but that's what sometimes we think about when these tests come in front of our faces. Um, by the way, the pass rate at St. John's is off the charts. Everybody does very well because they're prepared properly. Um, what you really want to do is internalize these standards in order to be a well-rounded super administrator of any kind, whether you only want to be the dean, or whether you want to be the superintendent, whether you want to be the leader of instruction, or whether you want to run the ELL program, or any of the other things that are at your fingertips. Every one of those standards really has something to do with that. I'll also mention quickly, if you don't already know about some of these other things, you really want to learn, join the ASCD, especially for this course, Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. Okay. The other ones are fine. I don't even remember some of the initials off the top. Educational Association. I forget what the other part of that is. And there's some pretty good journals out there too. Also, I'm the editor in chief of the Scope Journal for Leadership and Instruction, and I'm going to put that on the revised syllabus when I remember to. These are all very good research journals. The grandmother of all is the second one, Educational Administration or Quarterly. If you're interested in real research, that's the place to go. But educational leadership, which comes out of the Association for Curriculum Development, you definitely want in your pocket. I definitely recommend that you join those things, not just for this course, but to write for those journals someday, as well as to um, have them in your professional resources. Okay? Talking too much. I'm stopping right now. And there I am. Okay, I got a royal headache because my wife's glasses are no good, and I can barely see my handsome face in the screen at this point. Oh, please watch the video. You don't have to watch it all at once. You have a couple of days ahead of you. But I'm hoping to, and wishing I had a chance to meet with all of you one way or another before the course is finished. Take care.